Okay, hello, welcome. This is a demo of a Max patch. Cycling74 reached out to me and asked me to make a patch for the release of Max 9, which is out now. And this is what I came up with. It is a MIDI sequencer called Spin Shape Note Window. And this video is going to be a description of what it is and a little bit of a walkthrough of how it works, hopefully explaining a lot, but not so much as to make it terribly long and boring. I should also say that this is a Max patch. It is not a Max for Live device. It is something that is available for Max users who have a standalone Max license, and it is available as a free download on the Cycling74 website. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. I'm going to start by just showing how to make it do its thing. You're going to want to turn on the sound. It was already on, so I turned it back on. And then just click this button here and it will play. At that point, you can just mess with the controls, do whatever you want. These down here, change the sound, and these up here will change the parameters of the sequencer itself. You can also record notes into it. It should give you options for a MIDI controller, or you can just use this little keyboard here, and you can also click around and do different things like that. Right, so like I said, it is a MIDI sequencer. It's made of two different parts. This down here is spin shape, and it is responsible for the playback of the notes. You can see that there is a shape and it spins around. And then around that shape are all of these letter names, each one representing a pitch. These are the steps of the sequence that form a circle around the shape, starting right here. And when the corners of the shape pass by a note, it will trigger. Like that. So you can change the amount of steps in the sequence, like so, and you can change the shape that is traveling through the sequence. And because the shapes will have at a minimum 3 corners and up to 8, it will always be playing back the sequence from multiple different positions simultaneously. So there's a sequence, and then in this case, you're traveling through a 16-step sequence at 5 different points, all moving together at the same speed. And when you change the shape, you'll see that it is rearranging the order of the steps. And the same thing happens when you change the number of steps. Like that. My goal here was to make like a really simple, minimal visual interface that had like an interesting result that, would just kind of make these unexpected things happen, and that also would just make a lot of sense when you're looking at it, which I hope that this does. I think it does when you see it doing its thing. Yeah, so that is the sequencer portion, playing back the notes down here with a shape that spins around. You can mute the notes and unmute them. And that is how that works. Up above it is the other section, which is the note window. So you'll see that this is a bunch of letter names as well, 16 of them total. And then some of them are in this rectangular window. When you change the length of the sequence, it changes the size of the window. And you can see that these notes are the same notes that are being played by the sequencer. So this is like a subset. You have all of these slots that you can put notes in. And then the notes that are inside of the window are the notes that are made available to the sequencer to actually play. And then by clicking any location in here, the window will move around. So you can kind of like navigate through this larger group of notes and send just different parts of it down to the sequencer, which I think is pretty fun. It kind of makes it playable a little bit more like an instrument and not exactly something that you have to program. And also what you can do is just record notes in at any time when you play a note. It will overwrite the notes that were there, but only inside the window, so the notes outside of it will not be affected. Let's get into how it works. Which, yeah, opening it up, it looks like this. We have the two interface objects, the note window and spin shape down here. The controls go into this subpatcher. So the purpose of this patch was to demonstrate the new JavaScript capabilities in Max 9. Previously, you had to use this incredibly archaic form of JavaScript from like 1992 or something, whenever you were making any kind of JavaScript-based UI things for use in Max. And it was not super fun, in my opinion, to do. And now you can use regular ass modern JavaScript in there, and that's very cool. It runs on the V8 JavaScript engine. But what's going on in here is not that. This is when I started this project, I actually was using JavaScript to trigger the notes, and that actually worked fine. But you really kind of don't want to do that, just because of the way that JavaScript works. It's not a system that's particularly reliable for timing events, and sequencers are pretty much just events and timing. So what I ended up doing was taking that out of the code and then just making it the good old-fashioned Max object way, which is what this is. Super simple. This gen part is just a series of up to 8 phasers that are equally phase shifted apart from each other. Looking at this, moving around this circle, that's controlled by a phaser. This actual JavaScript UI just has a phaser running into it, and that is controlling the angle of rotation. So if this point is here, the phaser's at 0, and as it moves up, it goes in a circle and then resets back to 0 again. But because there's different shapes with different points, you need multiple phasers, and if you take that phaser and you shift it by 90 degrees, 90 again, and then again and again, you will get these 4 different points that move around, and the same for all the different shapes. So that is what this is. And then those phasers go out to a bunch of what objects. And this is just, the way that I put this together. The what objects are basically the steps of the sequence, right? So you have these different values that are just going in here. And if this is one cycle of the phaser, each step in the sequence is a point that I'm specifying for the what object to trigger. So each object is triggering all these different equally spaced points between 0 and 1. The JavaScript part of this doesn't actually trigger any events at all. It just gets the same information from those what objects, goes right in here, and instead of it triggering the event, it's actually just turning on that nice little blinking orange light that indicates visually that the event has been triggered. Moving on to the note section. So you're getting those outputs from the what objects, and they are simply recalling data from a dictionary down here. So it's sending a get message with a number corresponding to the step in the sequence, and that is just triggering the actual note, right? And similarly, when you are recording notes in, it's also just writing to that same dictionary. And when you are moving this window around, it is just shifting the messages sent to the dictionary with some modulo action, sweet modulo action that serves to keep those within the bounds of the sequence. So it's basically, there's like two processes that run together, one being entirely JavaScript stuff and one being entirely Max stuff, that kind of do the same things, which is maybe kind of weird to do, but works in this case, I think, because it serves a really clear purpose of keeping all of your audio events in the Max domain while you can do JavaScript for the UI stuff. Right. So the sound itself is another new thing in Max 9, these abl.dsp objects. That's all this is. I just dropped the basic shapes, Ableton, oscillator, DSP into a poly. And that is really easy to do. That's kind of how I imagine using these objects, I think, so that you don't have to always build, synthesizers from scratch when you're just trying to put together a sequencer, for example. And also I'm using a reverb on here, the Dark Hall Ableton reverb, just for fun. Sounds nice. Very cool. If you don't want to use this little simple synthesizer, I should say that you can also use a VST, an external VST, by just clicking this button, right? This menu here should auto-load with VST3 files from your machine. I have Vital in there right now. Opens up Vital. You can... That is pretty intense. I'm going to go back to the other one. So that is the patch. What else we got? Oh, right. There's the muting is actually handled separately. I probably wouldn't do it separately if I was doing this again. Maybe I was just kind of playing around with different options, but it is handled with a buffer here. So all of the steps of the sequence, whether they are active or inactive, is just a 1 or a 0 in this buffer, just like that. And that works great. Additionally, you can go into night mode. That is just for fun and because it's nice if you're in a dark room not to have so much bright screen. Yeah, I think I'm not gonna go through all the JavaScript files because that would just be too much, I think. But definitely take a look if you're interested in that. Ask me questions about it if you want. Use any of it in your own patches. Any of this stuff. I was trying to like write it in a way that would make it easy for folks to do so. So yeah, that is spin shape note window. Thanks for being here.